Hey everyone, Phi Farley here, breaking down Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the LA Chargers, traveling cross country. 8-3 Chargers going against the 7-3-1 Pittsburgh Steelers in an AFC matchup. 5:20 kickoff on Sunday evening. First, though, before I get to that, let me say thank you to subscribers. I appreciate it, and welcome to the new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed or checked out my other videos, please do so. Got other picks out there, as I have all year long, and I'm looking forward to breaking this game down for you as well. All right, so let's get into this one. First of all, we opened at a 52.5 total, been dropped down to 51.5. Pittsburgh playing a little bit of a sneaky good defense. San Diego does as well. We also have an opening line of 3.5 that has not budged off that line, with quite a bit of heavy action coming in on the San Diego Chargers. And I'm going to have a position on this game that I think you should be aware of early, and which is why this video is coming out a little bit earlier than others. So, and here's going to be my take on that. Right now, what I'm showing is 63% of the tickets over on San Diego, 69% of the money over on San Diego, which is interesting for an isolated game Sunday evening. To see an underdog get that public and sharp action, and the line refuses to budge. Why won't it go up to, why won't it drop down to 3? Well, I think there's something that our lines makers know that we may possibly don't. And that is, sharps are sitting there with their pocketbooks waiting for it to drop down to 3, and that's where I'm going to be as well. So let's look at a couple factors of why. All right, so we got Pittsburgh Steelers playing at home. Okay, traditionally, under a Tomlin team, that team can be very emotional. If you follow Colin Cowherd, you'd know, as he talks about the Tomlin's run teams, they're very emotional. They rally. They play well in times where they need to play well. They play very well at home. They don't travel as well. They're very spastic. There's an advanced metrics that's put out about which team are the most consistent, most predictable week in and week out. The number 27 team in predictability, Pittsburgh Steelers. Now the Chargers are coming off a win, real easy win against Arizona. I had that pick minus the 13 last week for a winner. Now they're traveling all the way across the country. The only game left on their schedule in which they do so, in fact, the only game all year outside of the Buffalo Bills week 2 that they'll have to do so and travel all the way across the country. Now the Chargers, I don't want to say they're not motivated, because every game is important here at this point, but if the Chargers were to drop this one, it's not going to mean really anything in the standings. Pittsburgh Steelers, on the other hand, if they drop this one, they're going to be in a hot seat. They're going to be in a tough spot. They still have the Patriots coming up and the Saints coming up, and then a rivalry against the Bengals coming up. The other game is the Raiders. Not a huge concern there, even though they're going to be traveling across the country for that game. San Diego, really the only tough game they have coming up left. They have the Chiefs. That's their toughest game by far. And then they have the Ravens at home, and then revenge back against the Broncos, which they lost by 1 point at home against them. I'm looking at them to get that win back and finish at 11-5, picking up the 5 seed, because they are not going to catch Kansas City by any stretch of the imagination. So they'll be picking up the 5 seed, which I actually think this is going to be an indicator of the first round matchup, a rematch of this exact game again in the first round of the playoffs. Pittsburgh is in a tough spot. To be the number 4 seed is not going to be good, and have to play the San Diego Chargers again. I actually think there's an advantage to a team that has lost the first time coming back and playing again, especially when they're a pretty even matchup. So here I'm not seeing a lot of motivation for the Chargers, whereas the Steelers really need to circle the wagons coming off a loss in Denver, where they played sloppy, had 4 turnovers, still were in the game, and lose it in the fourth quarter, versus the Chargers coming off a huge win against the Cardinals, and now traveling across the country. To lose this one is no big deal. All right, now let's look at Pittsburgh again at home. What have they done over the last 3 games? Last three games at home, they were winning by an average of 24 points per game, beating the Panthers, Browns, and Atlanta Falcons, like I said, by a net average of 24. Meanwhile, Chargers, it's kind of hard to take away. They haven't traveled east. They went to the Raiders, which was a pretty sloppy game. They ended up winning by 14, but it was 10 points in the second half. It was 10-3 at halftime. Only 10 points scored in the second half. not exactly a blow 'em out game. And then you also have the Seahawks win, which was a little more impressive, even though Seahawks were on the goal line to end the game. Potential score there. But, there's not a lot to take away. They played at the Browns, which was a good win by San Diego, or excuse me, by LA. But I'm not taking a lot out of this as far as how this game is going to set based on how they've played earlier in this season. Two good losses. I actually like LA a lot. I don't like this spot for them though. So I'm going to be laying 3.5 here as they travel across country. But to be honest with you, what I'm going to do is sit and wait for that line to drop down to 3. As soon as it drops down to 3, catch it when you can, because it's going to jump back up to 3.5. We're going to have sharp money coming in on that side. I think the sharp money's sitting and waiting, which is why they haven't dropped the line down here 3 days in, as that line has been posted at 3.5 and still sits at 3.5. With an isolated game, typically favorites get a lot of money as it comes down the stretch. So that money is being held back right now, waiting for the line to drop. As soon as it does, grab it at 3. I honestly think we have a 6-7 point win here by Pittsburgh. I think they're going to play very, very well. I think Phillip Rivers is going to have a hard time with that Pittsburgh defense, and the sacks are going to be coming in, and Phillip Rivers is going to be a little frustrated as they pack up their bags with a loss there in Pittsburgh. So give me the Pittsburgh Steelers minus the 3.5, but even better when it drops down to 3. Grab it when you can. All right, good luck, everyone. Check out my other picks. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.